Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 490, recorded live on Saturday, September 30th. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have returning to the show, Propane. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, we've been trying to get you back on the show for a while.
Nice. Yeah, I've been traveling.
All around Stormreach, or Zendrick, you have been.
And then some.
Yeah. We also have, from the Damsels of DDO, Mythery. Welcome back.
Hello.
This week's screenshot, it's a fun screenshot. I like this one. Bocage wakes up from hibernation at 335th screenshot of the week. Well done with the bear form and nice timing. I liked it. This is a great screenshot. Very creative. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can watch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website, DDOCast.com. DDOCast hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be next weekend. You can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOCast.com, with our calendar. On the podcast this week, we got a couple fun things to do. Update 36 Patch 2 came out, so we could talk about that. The Mimic Hunt is back, so we could talk about that as well. Our main thing, though, is we're going to do another debate. And we've got a couple different questions. The first one is really going to kind of be the focal point question, so we'll probably spend a little bit longer time on this one. But the first question we're going to talk about is, if you could rewind one design decision, what would it be and why? I apologize. This came from one of our listeners. I didn't write down who it was, or I didn't have that information. And we've got 11 and a half years to pull from. So if you could rewind one decision, what would it be? Why? And, maybe if you think it needed to be tweaked, we could talk about that too. But we'll see what people have here. Propane, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. I'm going to go with one of the recent changes or game updates. Basically, my thought is that Reaper's too easy. When they first talked about Reaper coming out, they said, it'd be incompletable for people at Reaper 7+. And here we are a couple months into it. There's people soloing Reaper 5 and groups doing the Reaper 10. And I think it really comes down to the Reaper being a little bit easier they're too easy, and the Reaper trees having too much power. I was expecting, as the updates and system and loot updates of the next year or 2 or 3, that would gradually allow groups and people to go from Reaper 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10. But already with the power that comes with the Reaper trees and just how good people are playing, they've already, I don't want to say mastered it, but there's a lot of higher level Reaper stuff being done. And that's, I was hoping that the Reaper would outpace the power creep farther than it has. So I'd say the Reaper's too easy, the tree's got too much power.
So here's an interesting question about this. If they hadn't said it or put it forth as, you're not gonna complete level 7 to 10, Reaper 7 to 10 yet, and 4 to 6 is going to be a really big challenge for people. If they hadn't sold it quite that high, do you think you and others would have the same reaction to it's too easy?
Well, the idea of, this was supposed to be for the elite of the elite of the elite and unattainable. They've added difficulty and hard things to the game over and over again, and within a short period of time, and that period of time seems to be getting shorter as the game is getting older. Players are just crushing stuff. So I was hoping they would actually have enough leapfrog ahead. So even without that preview, I was somewhere between surprised and disappointed that people are already doing it so soon.
Yeah, it's a fair question. Nathan, anything you want to chime in on that topic on Reaper mode?
Well, I really can't. I haven't even really done anything except for up to the 3 Reapers. I can't really answer to that. You promised me this wasn't really a debate.
It's not. I'm just asking if you want to chime in on it.
But I mean, Les and I have our little Reaper babies, so we're doing everything on Reaper. But it's just the two of us, and the most we've done so far is like three Reaper skulls head things.
Yeah, I think that there's a really weird tension here, I think, because I like that it's fairly accessible in that if you want to do Reaper 1 or 2 or even 3, average parties are probably going to be okay. They might struggle. They'll probably be fine in Reaper 1. It'll be a little more challenging than Elite. But Reaper 3 might propose them a little bit of problems depending on the quest. So I like that there's accessibility there, but I hear what you're saying about and I think this is why I asked that question. I think for me it kind of comes back to that the way that they marketed it of this is going to be super hard.
Even if they, I do agree with the point of it being accessible. Reaper 1, depending on your party makeup, some people may argue it's actually easier than Elite based on some of the other. Yeah. But I can see having the entry level, okay, 1, get a taste. But even if they, I'm going to call it, renamed every other level, so Reaper 3 was actually 2 and 5 was 3, ratchet that system up. But like I said, again, I was just a little disappointed that with all the new loot that's coming in the next updates and whatever system updates and whatever other hamster wheel TR type thing that comes, there's going to be more power creep in the game. And that was the idea of at least my expectation of Reaper is to leapfrog the difficulty so far in advance that just people can't do it till the game catches up to it.
Here's an interesting question that I kind of popped in my head to follow up is, okay, so people are doing 7 to 10 skulls. It's happening. But do you think it's too easy? Because I know there's some people in my guild that will run Reaper 10 for fun. But at the same time, I mean, it's taking them an hour to do a quest that they, on Elite, they could do in 10, 15 minutes.
So I wonder how much of the people running the higher Reapers, how much Reaper experience they have and are leaning on the power creep within the Reaper system itself. So if it's the system that was put in place to really challenge the players is enabling them to overcome that challenge.
Isn't that the primary goal of game design though? I mean, that's kind of what they're supposed to do, right? Here's a challenge. We expect you to eventually succeed at that challenge.
My expectation, again, obviously I'm on a record here, was just letting the game catch up to it instead of having the system within itself. I mean, having the Reaper experience, and they could have done a whole different set of reward system given the experience. I mean, and that's a whole nother discussion, but I get that.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think, Mythery, would you like to share what you would like to rewind? Then we can talk about that.
Well, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about how I would change this game, to be quite honest. I spend more time figuring out how I'm going to have fun with what's there. But the TR system, I think, not that I would do away with it, but I think they could change how that works. If they limited the amount of times a person could TR, then people might stay at 30 for a while, and that would fold into your next topic about raids. I don't know if I can explain this really well. The fact that people can TR and TR and TR and TR, they hit 30 and they go back and they TR again and they acquire more power every time. I mean, let's say if you could only TR 5 times ever, then you would have to consider your choices more, and you would spend more time at 30, and eventually you would hit 5 and then you couldn't TR again. So you would want to spend time.
An interesting thought on that comment, if your past life benefits were much more limited based on your last 3 or 5 past lives, then you'd have to coordinate your past lives with your final build. And that's an interesting thought, because then you'd have to plan ahead versus just do everything and then have this whole massive power structure in the background that you can draw on whatever you want. Say if you had to pick a certain sphere, and all your past lives in that sphere would give you benefits that would benefit a smaller build group, you'd force people to say, okay, I want to have this character with this type of past life to support this build, and then maybe even have other characters that would have less past lives but more focused previous lives to support the current build.
An interesting way of doing it. I think if you tweaked it a little bit there, instead of there being a cap, if there was a longer time between when you had to reincarnate, that might make for an interesting balance there, and that it might encourage people to play more characters, or at least reincarnate. So if you could only reincarnate a character once a month or something like that, it would slow it down a little bit. People might spend the time at 30, or they might just reincarnate other characters. I'm not really sure.
I wish they would shift the power that you get from the TR, instead of it being so front-loaded or end-loaded, front-loaded. So say you get 50% of your bonus from the first TR, and then 25 from the second and 25 from the third, have the same power level. But for at least me, where I have a lot of alts, when I look at how big the hill is to climb for a TR cycle to get the 3 or 12 different past lives, the incremental improvement is so small until the very end, then you get something big. And if it was, if you got half that power in your first one, I'd be more tempted to do 1 or 2 or 3 on some characters versus having to grind all the way. And again, the total power level is fine, and the power gamers are going to go that far anyways.
I think the class ones aren't bad, and the iconic ones aren't, because they're basically the same thing 3 times. But the racial ones, it's a very steep curve, because the first one you get like +1 to a skill, which is really small, and then it ratchets up from there for sure. But +1 to a skill is But no, I think Mythery is touching on something, and we'll definitely talk about this in a bit. Of people don't tend to stay at 30 very much anymore. I mean, there are people that do, but I think most of the player base right now, particularly more so than ever, is really grinding out past lives. And part of the reason is probably because of the Reaper mode. All right, I'm going to we're going to be really unpopular, because we've already proposed, or we've already looked at rewinding Reaper, and we've already looked at rewinding True Reincarnation. I'm going to rewind Bravery bonus. And stay with me here, because this is not going to be popular. Because look, Bravery bonus gives a lot of XP. But let's go back to when Bravery bonus came out. Bravery bonus was designed to address a situation where players would run the same quests over and over and over again for leveling, to optimize their leveling. So the devs wanted, and they would also find that people would kind of tend to run quests on really easy difficulty and stuff like that. So Bravery bonus was designed to kind of encourage people to run different quests, 1, and 2, run on higher difficulties first. There's a couple problems that have come out with this since they did the Bravery streak. One is that people really don't want to break their streak, so they won't run certain quests unless it's an elite. Yes, most of those people are aware that you can go and pause your Bravery streak, but that's kind of a hassle. I mean, it's not really that much of a hassle, but people don't tend to do it. And if you do run a quest with your Bravery Week pause, then you can't ever get the Bravery bonus for streaking on that quest. So what has happened is, while it has definitely encouraged people to run different quests, as opposed to running the same quest over and over and over again, and it has encouraged people to run quests on harder difficulties, for sure. It has also encouraged people not to run quests unless they're running it on Elite at their bravery bonus level range, which has created other problems, particularly with grouping. And I think this is where you get a lot of people feeling like they're being forced to run it on Elite or Reaper because people got to get their bravery streak bonus. So if I could, what I would have liked to have done, go back in the time machine for DDO, and instead of doing a streaking bonus, just have it a one-time flat bonus. Doesn't matter what difficulty you run the quest on. But if you, instead of what we have now of this whole streaking thing, if you did it so that the first time you ran a quest, regardless of what quest you ran or what difficulty you ran it on, sure, there should be a level range, which the level range we have right now would be fine. But at the first time you ran a quest, normal, hard, elite, doesn't matter, you get a sizable chunk of XP bonus. If you wanted to split the difference of, because if you don't have a bravery streak, it'd be 0, hard streak would be up to 25, elite would be 50. So, maybe we say 40% bonus the first time you run a quest. Doesn't matter what difficulty. I think you would still get people to run quests on different quests. If you couple that with Reaper bonuses, you'd probably see them running stuff on Reaper anyways at this point in time. But I think the nice thing about Bravery Streak is it does encourage people to run different quests, but the streak part of it really inhibits players from grouping with people who don't want to do Elite or aren't ready for that yet. Hopefully I explained that well.
Yeah, I agree that it limits the grouping some. I'd much rather have them roll up a little more XP in your first time bonus that you run the quest and respect the current power leveling rules and just get rid of the streaking bonus.
To be clear, this is not replacing the first time you do on normal, you get 20%. First time on hard is 40, 80 for Elite, 120 for Reaper. I'm just talking about the streak part of it. Because it's the streak part that is inhibiting players from grouping, essentially. It's a roadblock to grouping. But the XP bonus encourages people to run different quests. So,
yeah. Now that they have that, we'll call it the extra XP in the game, they need to redistribute that. But if they took the mechanic out and just left the XP blended in some way, shape, or form, I expect most people would be fine with it.
Yeah, 40%, you'd lose a little bit from a Reaper or an Elite streak, but you wouldn't have to build up a streak, which really isn't that big of a deal. But I don't know. It would also let you, if you get to a quest, say you want to run something like, I don't know, what's a good example for a quest that you wouldn't want to run an Elite? Enter the Kobold, for example. If you still wanted to run that, but you didn't want to have to break your streak or go pause your streak, or it was, if it was just, if you run it on, doesn't matter what difficulty you run it on, first time you run the quest at all, 40% XP. Done. No streaking, or worry about that. I think you would still get, that would open up grouping options for players. Not that those options aren't open right now, but the artificial limitations that players put on themselves makes it harder for those groupings to happen.
And anything that limits grouping is a bad thing.
Yeah. So, there we go. So there's 3 things we would rewind. Do we want to throw out any honorable mentions here?
Whatever they did to break the cold spells. Rewind that.
You gotta work that in every episode.
Yes.
Well, I was thinking back when Champions first came out, they were tough. And then was it the first week later they got nerfed? I think they got nerfed a little too hard. Right now they're barely speed bumps again. I was hoping when they did the update, when they added all the different tweaks to the champions, I was hoping they'd turn them up a little bit more, but I really don't think they have.
Maybe they could kind of fix both of the things you're talking about, like on Reaper mode, ramp the champions back up to that difficulty.
Yeah, there was a suggestion made. I forget who made it on the forums, but someone said basically every Reaper is the percent of monsters that are champions in the quest. So Reaper 2 would be 20%, Reaper 5 would be 50%, and let that be the Reaper scaling, just increase the number of champions.
It would certainly make it more difficult. Although, and something that I'll talk about shortly, you kind of run into a tactical problem of just getting one hit killed. But sure. In any case, I think let's talk about our second question. And we're going to talk a little bit about raids. The first question came from Roger on Sarlona. His question is, are raids on their way out? What do we think about that?
What raids?
Raids in general.
Seems like it. They're not
No.
doing good, are they?
Now, I don't think they're on their way out. I think when they come into the game, they're the new and shiny, and people grind them so fast that they get their loot or whatever they're after, and then they're done. And where the game is set up now, with folks playing lesser and lesser characters, you're not farming that raid with 8 or 10 characters. You're maybe 1 or 2. So folks are grinding the heck out of the raid when it comes out. They get what they get, and they're done. Whereas if you look, yeah, well, yeah, there's an incentive to stay there. I think back to when the level cap was 20. There were 6, 8 different raids in the game that were very popular. Loot was relevant, and people would purposely have alts so they could run the raids with before the timers, so they could just keep running the raids to collect mats. I mean, back in the days of Shroud and Hound, there were people running 6, 8, 10 alts that they'd cycle through 2 Shrouds a night with 2 alts, and bam, 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 and just circulate through everybody. So I think, yeah, I think the mechanics need to be adjusted in the game. We'll talk about that next one, but I don't think they're dead, but I don't think they're in good shape now, just because of the frequency they're coming and the reasons I just listed.
Maybe you shouldn't be able to use so many, like maybe raid timers should have timers.
You can only use 5 per day.
Something.
That could be an honorable mention for a design decision. No raid timers.
Yeah, that's. Well, I think the advent of raid timers itself wasn't too big a deal. It was the fact that there was a period of time where they were exploitively mass-produced.
It's a very good way to phrase it, but yes.
I have many raid timers.
You have a lot?
Yes.
Yeah.
You get them from daily rolls and stuff, but yeah, there was a point they were way more available than any dev anticipated.
Which is why they're not usable for legendary raids.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I would ever have used all the ones I had. I tend to burn out on the same raid. If I run it that much, I can't sit down and run a raid 20 times in a row. But yeah, it's certainly a concern. I think are raids on their way out? I don't think so. Just from the standpoint that one of the biggest things you'll see people clamor about is give us content with new raids. Like, not necessarily every patch of content, although there are plenty of people that would say, every time you release content, give me a raid. But I think people want raids, so I don't think they're on their way out. I think there's a couple of unique things that are really impacting raids right now, but there's also some things that you kind of talked about of people are playing fewer characters these days. It used to be that people would play more, like the average player probably had more in the range of 5 to 8 characters. Now I would say the average player is probably playing 2 to 4 characters is probably kind of more of an average serious player. Particularly if you can talk about power gamers, they're probably only playing about 2 to 4 characters, and really what that looks like more is they're really focusing on one at a time, and the other ones are just kind of parked for doing things like raids or higher level content. I think you can also factor in right now that there's a very high emphasis on grinding out Reaper XP and the racial past lives, because those were both just released. Coupled with the new raid is, I think, the loot's not as desirable as some other raids have been. The other problem I think that we're running into is is barrier to entry. And what I mean by this is if you think about the lifespan of a raid, or what they used to be, you'd have the people that really went in there first, right? The real high-end power gamers. They'd go in, they'd learn the raid, and they kind of grind it out. And there'd be some people that would do that pretty quick, and then there'd be a couple people, the later part of that, what I'll call the first generation of the raiders, would keep running it, and they would learn the knowledge that they from the other the kind of the forerunners,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would keep running it, and you'd see I don't want to call them slower players, but the players that started running the raid a little bit later, right? That second generation of people running that raid would run the raid with the kind of again, I don't want to call them stragglers, but the people that were kind of the tail end of the first generation would kind of essentially pass their information on to the second generation of raiders, and they would kind of learn the raid, and you get a third and a fourth and a fifth generation, and that's kind of how the raids progressed throughout their lifespan. Some people would be done, but there'd still be people that weren't done, but had learned from those who had gone before them. When you talk about the raid timers, that leading edge group of players is the group of players that is more likely to really timer the living daylights out of a raid. So they'd finish, that first generation would finish so fast that the second generation wouldn't have a chance to learn from them. Like, the second generation wasn't ready to run the raid yet, and the first generation was done.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I was thinking like Mark of Death, I think, was one of the first ones that
Yes.
I really noticed that. By the time I got someone flagged and I was gone for a week or something, it was a month after the raid was out. It was done already. The people had everything.
Yeah,
I was like,
there were a bunch of
it's
people
only
that
been
were
out a month. Yeah.
So they consume it so fast that, one, they don't need to keep running it, and two, you break that generational learning progression. Which
if you hand off those tactics and those tips, it's much easier for that next generation. Otherwise, it's brutal sometimes being that first crew in.
Well, it seems like if you're not in a raiding guild, then it's difficult to get into a raid because the LFMs aren't up for raiding.
Yeah, that's certainly another option. Another point. We're probably becoming more insular.
Yeah, as time goes on, people get caught in their ways and get sucked up in guilds. So you got all the internal guilds / raiding channels that it's the very end. Oh, we got one or two spots. Do we even throw it up or do we go?
Although I would say that, at least for my guild experiences, we don't fill. I mean, we usually, I'll talk about this later, but we did an elite raiding the storm out, and one of the reasons we decided to do elite, foolishly, was we didn't really have any people from an LFM. It was all from our channel and our guild. We just had a really big night. But normally we're pulling a few people in. The other thing I think that, and this is more unique to what's going on right now, is I think riding the storm out has a very high barrier to entry for a new player, specifically because of the electric damage that you are subjected to. And there's not really a way around getting zapped. Yes, I understand. Believe me, I know the mechanics very well. But you're going to get zapped. That's kind of just the short end of it. And the way that raid got released, where the hit points of some of the mobs were inflated, so it made it more of a slog to get through. It's a lot better now. But the way it got released, I think a lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth initially. And that raid, And the designer of the raid even said this. I think it was, I don't remember if it was on the forums or if it was on one of the preview videos that they did, or even if it was on Ask the Devs on DDOCast. But the guy who was really the main designer of the raid said he likes to reward people for getting all the little goodies, right? So in this instance, getting all the electric absorption and resistance that you can get. The problem is that your average normal player isn't really going to be able to get or really think about wanting to get all of those things. So you have a mechanic that is very heavily used. I mean, basically any mob that's in this raid can get you struck by lightning. And the designer's intent is for you to go and get this gear to make this raid easier. And I don't think that's a good design from the standpoint of having a low bar of entry for players to run it.
Especially on normal. I could see if there was a little less damage and more of an annoyance factor. At normal, okay, say the damage is 50% of now, but you're slowed for 5 seconds or something. Something that still gave it some teeth, but to make it just a little easier to run on normal, then hard and elite ramp it up. That's why there is hard and elite. The other thing was a little interesting. This raid's 27 to get in. Is this the only one? That was an interesting. If you look at like Legendary Shroud or Tempest Spine or Hound,
I think there are level restrictions on those, but I don't remember. There may not be. I'm not sure. The annoying part about that I find with riding the Stormbound is there is already a mechanic in there for it. Like there's a lot of different ways you could adjust it. And you'd really kind of make this barrier a lot less. One would be just make the skeletons cast it less. Right now, if you get out of the range, they just really go to town and zap you. The other would be is there's a maximum stack of 20 debuff. If you halved the damage across the board and halved the debuff and just doubled how many stacks you could get, you could have the same mechanic of being penalized for not dealing with this by doing something like running on a rune or getting under shelter. But it not be, right now, if someone's just not prepared at all, every minute on normal you get struck 3 successive times for lightning, and that kills most new players. And believe me, I've brought a lot of new players into this raid. It just kills them because they don't know how to handle that, and there's not necessarily enough runes to go around. Well, they just don't understand how to get on the runes, so they get frustrated because they're just dying all the time.
It's closer to not quite a one-shot mechanic, but it takes a little time to figure out, and by then people get frustrated. And I totally agree with extending that out a little bit more. I like the raid layout, the Simon Says puzzles, the way you need to sequence. I appreciate it. I kind of enjoy doing that, but it's too close to be getting one-shotted even at normal.
Yeah, if they made that electric mechanic do less damage and expanded how much it could do or how many stacks you could get, I think you'd have a much better raid and a much easier raid for people to get into.
Yeah. Then again, it's a 32 level epic. I appreciate it should have some teeth.
Yeah, well, it could still have teeth. In any case, I think that following this up, I think we all kind of agree that it's struggling. But what can be done to improve the raiding scene? That's kind of our next question. Our next focus here is what can the devs do to improve the raiding scene, or players, right? I mean, there's certainly something to be said, especially if you're in a guild that does raids. I would say first, from a player's perspective, something you can do as a guild and players is have an understanding that you're gonna keep raiding. Like even my guild right now, we still raid twice a week, and it's understood that we're gonna keep raiding once. We're in the habit of doing raids. There's also this idea that even if you don't need something from this raid, one, it can be fun. Two, you can help other people out that have helped you out to get to that point of being done with the raid. I get that that's not for everybody, and there's raids that we don't run because we're basically done with them. Or I, as the raid leader, have the impression that we're done with them and don't need to run them anymore. But so what are some other things that could be done to improve the raiding scene?
So I got a couple ideas. We kind of danced around these topics before we're talking. One of them is the fact that the raids, people get done with them because there aren't enough new ones at the same time and people can burn through them. So when the next update comes out, when they're talking here with Ravenloft, there's, I don't know if they mentioned how much, but I'm assuming there's going to be a raid or two. At the same time those new raids come out, I think they need to do some tweak to some of the older raids, especially the mid to high level raids. I remember back when the Reaver's Fate got an update where the weapons got an upgraded structure. There was tokens that would drop, something for those older raids that to take the loot that was good at the time and now is so to give it a little bump up to get it back on par with the current loot in the game and give you some incentive to run those older raids.
Do you feel like that's kind of a time-consuming thing, though? Because, they'd have to go and touch all this stuff, and I feel like it's a little bit like chasing your tail, because, look, loot is going to deteriorate over time in the sense that better loot's going to be coming out. So if you just kept doing that, I feel like you'd almost be wasting too much time.
Even if you did there was some talk of a raid token system that these older raids would drop a token. You get 20 tokens, you get any piece of raid loot from a subset of raids you wanted. So, you always wanted this, but it was too hard to grind. Now you got a mechanism which you can run several raids and get something that you kind of wanted. Another thing is the XP on these raids. A lot of the XP doesn't balance the time you're in there. And if you would up the XP in the raids, let the raid actually be an alright experience point run. Right now, Legendary Shroud, that's not bad. Even if I got guys running at cap trying to fill out destinies or get some XP, it is a decent XP per minute run. There's better stuff you can do, but it's decent. Where you look at some of the other raids, the time per minute XP, it's just another reason not to run it.
Was it Spine and Shroud are like the two that are good for XP? That might be just about it.
Yeah, Hound's not too. Hound's pretty quick, so that's not too bad either. But
that's true. Myth, what do you think? Do you have any ideas for improving the raiding scene?
I only had one, and it was about raid timers, and they shouldn't be able to use them endlessly. I think if you limit that amount of times that you can do raids endlessly like that, then
stretches it out.
That would stretch it out, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of another system to somehow encourage alts to be relevant and not to be penalized. So the raid timer is part of it.
I think I like some of the changes they made recently with the raid runes. So it doesn't really matter what character you take in there, you're still progressing towards a quote 20th completion. So
that's
I
a
do
step
like
in the
that.
right direction.
Yeah, that helps because then you're not trying to find that, if we need a healer, I can jump on my healer and run it, and I'm still making progress towards what I'm trying to get to. There's still an advantage to running characters you want to, but just being able to as long as I'm running the raid, I'm getting runes and being able to work towards an item I want. I think that really helps kind of balance things out. It makes it easier to find a party to run a raid. So I would really like to see them kind of expand that to the other raids.
Amen.
I know it would be work, but some of those raids, get rid of the 20th completion and go to the rune system. I think it'd be way better. The other thing I'd like to see is, we're talking about like stretching the raids out a little bit. The raid runes are great. I love what they do. I would like to see them do more, particularly in the idea that, they've actually talked about having like legendary runes in the sense that like we had tokens, epic tokens, like having something that when you run a quest on legendary, you get something that you can turn in to kind of move towards an end goal. I would like to see something like that with the raid runes. Maybe you can just turn in each raid. You can turn those in for a a specific kind of just a generic kind of token that you can then turn in towards things like stat tomes, or I've talked about the idea of legendary tomes before, where it's the same kind of tome system, just it's a legendary bonus. So there's another direction you can go with that stuff. So it stacks with everything, and you can kind of have chaser items like that, right? But having some chaser items that you can get, as opposed to just the raid items, have I don't want to call them consumables, but have other things that you could just kind of keep running towards, and kind of give more life to those raids.
I mean, XP gems, crafting materials. There's a lot of other motivations in the game.
If you went with like the idea of turning them into a generic one and had like saga type rewards, yeah, you could do some interesting like skill tomes and XP gems. I'm a little leery about XP gems in this case. I'm also not really sure how much they would help, because I mean we don't tend to run raids for XP.
As we were talking, I was thinking, what if in a raid you had a chance to pick up an XP gem that was bound to account and you could not use on the character that you found it?
Be interesting.
Because that would be for your another alt incentive. Ooh, I found 10 grand that I get to send down to one of the guys in the second row.
But the other thing that really opens up with the idea of raid runes is, we've got these epic raids, like Epic Demon Queen and Epic Vaulted Knight, that have this really tedious and annoying scroll, seal, and shard mechanic. I mean, turning in raid runes for those, I mean, that alone would get people running those raids more.
Yeah, if you could buy some of the quote-unquote the old materials, even the Lord of Blade stuff, if I could go buy my Tier 2 Fire, I would be ecstatic.
Yeah, right? Go finish that item that you always wanted to finish.
Yes.
Of course, at that point, you need to open it up to anything that's got scroll, seal, and shard mechanics as well. But, I'm okay with that. So.
That'd be just creating a vendor. They already got the items in the game. That I would expect to be a little less effort on the dev side, but
there'd be some there. Okay, let's do a couple fun ones. A little shorter, a little funner ones. This came from Lexi Uncerlono. What is the toughest non-raid boss fight in the game? And I'm going to put a qualifier on this. A raid boss does not only appear in a raid. So Zugat Moy is a raid boss. Just to be clear. Although it's a tough boss fight, it's still a raid boss, and I know it's not a raid. So not purple named is really kind of what we're going for here. Mythery, do you have a tough non-raid boss fight?
Like, a new invasion guy at the end of that one.
oh yes.
Probably the most technical non-raid boss fight, I would say. Because it's pretty... That's the one where you have to... If you haven't run it, you jump down, you're fighting a pit fiend, and the floor explodes beneath you if you don't move. It forces you to move.
Yes, it does.
And if everyone moves in different directions, the entire floor just keeps exploding, and it gets really chaotic really fast. Yeah, that's a really good one.
We were on our wolves one time, and Rent was playing with us, and we fell in the hole going to the end fight, and Rent, you could see Rent trying to claw his way back up out of that hole. and it was like you could see these claw marks, going down the side. It's like, let me out.
That's pretty amusing.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's a nasty one. That's much better than the example I was thinking of. I was thinking of the fire bomber blown to bits. He can be pretty nasty as he drops those little presents on the ground.
He's just so beefy.
And the Demon's Den in the Inspired Quarter, she's pretty nasty too.
I don't find her to be tough in the sense like she herself is tough, but killing all the djinns with her chasing after you is kind of annoying. Especially if you are doing that quest on Elite. Because on Elite, you have to kill all of the djinns basically at the same time. On normal, you can just kill them. You don't have to worry about it. I think even in hard, they don't respawn. But in Elite, the djinns respawn, and there's no real... It's one of those things that you don't really know that's going to happen. By the way, on New Invasion, if you run that on Elite, there's like there's an air elemental down there too. That's not there on normal and hard.
That throws you into the zone of instant
Yeah.
death.
Or throws you into an area that you didn't want to move to trigger that. Yeah. It's
That's
kind of
just
a pain.
nasty.
Yeah.
It's beautifully done. It's just nasty.
This has been a theme in our leveling series we've been doing, is that the older quests are not as hard, but they're more devious. The devs had a devious streak back then that they don't really have right now. It's kind of a different form of challenge.
Yeah, it was different than throwing a mob of 20 mobs at you at a clip.
Yeah. Let's see. I would have said New Invasion. That was the one that I was holding in my back pocket. It's a good. I mean, I think it's one of the hardest ones. It's pretty brutal.
It's worse than Enter the Cobalt, which is another one that's a lot of fun.
Enter the Cobalt, I kind of put on. I kind of put that in an honorable mention, although it is one of the more tough ones. Actually, maybe I'll just say Enter the Cobalt and then put as an honorable mention Monastery of the Scorpion.
That area needs to get legendary.
It's been a popular clamor, and I agree. It is some of the tougher quests. It does certainly buck the trend. Although it's kind of an interesting thing, right? Like the quests themselves aren't too bad, but you get to that end boss fight, and it suddenly kind of ramps up in all of them.
Yeah, the mechanics in there are interesting. We haven't had a craftable armor system for a while. It's not a bad thought of after we get all the weapons stuff that is coming. Let us, take the existing concept and modernize it, and let us go to town.
Enter the Cobalt, just from the standpoint of it's just a lot of fire damage and living spells that respawn.
Did the same dev do Riding the Storm Out as Enter the Cobalt?
I have no idea. I don't think so, but I couldn't tell you. I know the dev who did Riding the Storm Out was Torque, who also did the Pit. And it's great that we have a variety of devs too. Don't get me wrong. It helps add if there's the same kind of challenge type of devs, we'd have a lot. The quests wouldn't feel so different, right?
Yeah, right now they'd be too vanilla if you had the same guys doing all of them.
So they do a really good job with the quests. Sometimes things don't work out as well as they thought they would. Okay, our last question, and this one I think is a lot of fun. This game from Marioc on Sarlona. What should a mimic impersonate for the maximum chance of killing an adventurer?
I'm gonna go with a rest shrine. Your guard goes down. There's the shrine. You can go and relax. You lay down, and bam.
The DM even tells you this looks like a nice spot to rest.
Yeah.
Which they're almost always doing.
I think a collectible. You're there to grab it and it bites you.
There's a couple collectibles that are actually kind of like that, and that they're like trapped. There's one in the Last Depths quest. Just a nice little collectible, just sitting out there, and you go to grab it, and you get hit by a blade trap.
It's true.
It's DDO Central saying a urinal. Which brings up an interesting question. I mean, there's not exactly a lot of restrooms in DDO, so
there are a lot of trees and big rocks. What else do you need?
just make sure Samus isn't hiding behind one of those rocks. Yeah, good ones. I was thinking like a chair in the tavern or something, because every adventure starts in a tavern, right? So if you're gonna, so you get there, that would be a good place, because catch them before they're even ready for an adventure, right?
Or even your end reward giver, you go get your end reward.
Yeah, that would be a doppelganger. Mimics can't mimic people.
That's true. I was going to say.
Work that way.
Good point.
So I think there's even remember there's a Chronicle question about like what happens if a doppelganger doppelgangs a mimic, or a mimic doppelganger, or mimics a doppelganger or something like that. Like they can't do that. It's not allowed. There's rules about these things, you see. Mimics are supposed to mimic objects to get them. Although I have used them on my pen and paper party, which is kind of fun. Although it's more common. We've got a history with rugs, actually, animated rugs, and they have killed in the group that. Well, one of the guys in the group that I'm playing with right now was in a previous group that I was in for several years, and he got killed by a rug. And ever since then, it kind of became a running joke.
It's kind of a common thread in your campaign.
Yeah, well, the dungeon that they just finished and the one that I'm DMing right now, they ran into a couple rugs that tried to kill them. Although only one of them actually animated into a rug and almost killed them, but killed two of them. But yeah. Rugs are a thing in our group, so.
But did it strangle him? How did this rug kill him?
The first time, it's just because they do constricting damage, so that was how he died the first time, and the first thing he did when he got back to town was got razors on his armor, so he like the rug. But the other group the group that just ran into one, it was large enough to envelop two of them, but someone stepped on the rug and then it attacked her and grappled her. And then the rogue went in to help, and he went to try to get into a flanking position, and the rug, that provoked attack of opportunity, and the rug got a critical hit on him, a very good critical hit. It was something like you're stunned and you drop your weapons, which was unfortunate because he dropped his daggers, which would have been really helpful because the rug hit him in the groin, stunned him, he dropped his weapons, and then enveloped him. And the daggers would have been useful for fighting a rug.
Oops.
Yep. It happens sometimes. Sometimes the dice try to kill you. It's just the way things go. Okay, so there's kind of our questions for the week. So I think we'll get into game news, because there is a bit of game news to talk about. Some fun stuff. Update 30. I wrote 32, and I don't think that's right. It's update 36, patch 2. And so we've talked about cleric domains several times. So I don't think we need to really talk about, unless you guys have played with clerics and there's something you specifically want to mention about them, or something you noticed that did change that you wanted to mention.
No, I haven't had a chance to respec any of mine yet. I'm kind of holding back the first week and just monitoring the forums, seeing what other people are discovering before I burn my heart.
Yeah, in truth, I may not actually burn a heart because I'm, within a month I'll probably be looking to reincarnate my cleric anyway. So I might just kind of make. It's not like I didn't have stuff that I needed, right? Because I've been doing fine. He's been doing fine. I don't know. We'll see what happens. The favorite souls also got updated as well. Yeah, so we can kind of skip that. If you're listening to the show and you want to comment about your experiences, please feel free to comment about them. Let's see. Some other things that did come out. So monks, feats and enhancements that grant damage dice to hand wraps no longer appear on the weapon listed as simple hand wraps. There's kind of some UI stuff there. The Blessing of Sylvanus now properly appears. This one I think was kind of caught people, but a little bit by surprise. Paths are no longer available for advanced classes, as in not the free basic ones. So what we're talking about is when you create a character, there are paths available to you to choose. And they decided to take those out, except for the basic classes, so basically the free ones. And the reason, so Steelstar and Kurdovan both made comments on this. Steelstar said the problem on our end was never coming up with quality paths. It was that path maintenance is not worth the time spent to make it happen. Today's reduction from 844 available paths down to a much more manageable number means they can focus on things that matter a lot more than paths when making new things. So what he's saying basically is anytime they tweaked a class, which if you've been paying attention, they've been doing a lot recently, because it seems like we've been in class passes for, 4 or 5 years?
3 years? Ever since the enhancement pass, then they switched to class passes.
Yeah, right. So they've been tweaking classes, and it's kind of one one of those things you feel like it may never actually really finish. But every time they touched a class, they had to update the paths, essentially. So that's what they're trying to avoid. And Kurovan also chimed in and said, this is something that came up when looking at Favored Soul and Cleric. Behind the scenes, every time a class is changed in a way that would involve the paths, and also when initially making the paths, a dev had to make a path for every class and a race combination available. Not particularly difficult, but it's quite time-consuming, and ultimately not that many players really use the paths. So, after a discussion, we decided to keep the paths for the free classes, since they're the ones most likely to encounter new players who might be interested in using a path, while using the time they would spend doing this now and going forward on non-free classes on something frankly better.
Awesome. Should have done it a while ago. Glad they got it done now.
I mean, it seems reasonable.
Yeah.
I have no complaints. I'm sure somebody somewhere will be upset, but I mean, more content, hopefully.
The only time I used the custom paths, if I had a character at 30 and was doing an ETR, TR back to back, I didn't want to take the time to level up the 20 knowing I was going to do a heroic TR. So I'll just click, 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 which was kind of nice.
Well, you can't use a path if you're on a reincarnate on Second Life or beyond anyways. You can only use them with First Lives, I think. So, I don't know. Let's see. The DDO store can now be opened within the game client.
Yay, much rejoicing.
Yeah, right.
Now they just need that triple bonus point sale to go with it to celebrate the opening of the store.
Maybe during the holidays. That's when I would expect it to happen if it does. Or perhaps also with the expansion that's coming out. So usually there's a really screaming deal that you can get some points when you buy the pre-order the expansion.
Right.
Yeah, then they bury some in with the different tiers, at least with one of them.
Well, it's still true that I mean you can't get Menace of the Underdark right now because they had to take it out of the store briefly or the marketplace. But even up to the last time when I bought some stuff when it was on sale last year for the scavenger hunt, which I knew I was going to do, you could buy an expansion, which they were on sale for like 75% off. So you could buy an expansion for like $7, and then pay the $50 to get 11,000 points, I think, or something like that. I don't remember the numbers, but it's it's not quote triple bonus points. It's like the expansion bundle of points, but it's better than I think everything other than triple bonus points in terms of dollars per points.
Yeah, you buy the points, and then if you got a new guildie or something that's new to the game, here you got a code for them. Win-win.
Or I could just spend the points on myself.
Yeah.
Right.
I try to be nice to my guildies, but I'm not that nice. I'll be honest. They'll tell you too. See, enhancements, they got changed. The Artificers, Battle Engineers, special attacks no longer stop movement when used. Thank you. That was killing me surprisingly number of times. Yeah. Was a bit rough. They fixed some other stuff in there as well. They fixed a bug with Arcane Archer's Arrows of Terror that caused the fear effect to apply to invalid targets like constructs, undead, and oozes. Probably not so happy about that. The Mimic Hunt. The Mimic Hunt has been updated. It's back. Have you been killed by a mimic yet? I have.
Not yet.
So they added new rewards, which you can go check those out from the Mimic vendor. If you kill a Mimic, you get a Mimic token. You then turn in the token to Glenareth in the Hall of Heroes for a variety of rewards, including collectibles, crates, new cosmetic pets, oils of strengthening that prevent item durability loss, and other items at a variety of level ranges. There has been some critique, basically along the lines of all of the items, regardless of what level they are, cost the same amount, which is really silly, I have to admit. I did like the people were saying, like, hey, how about for the level 4 item version of the item, it would be 10 tokens instead of 80, like the level 30 version. Seems reasonable to me. I don't know.
I do like you don't have to consume the item to build up the tree like some of the other systems, but I do echo the fact that a scaled point per level thing would make some sense.
Yeah, a little bit. Also, the Stormreaver's Fresco no longer produces mimics when the Mimic Hunt is active. That would be because if you went into the bank there were essentially like 50 chests in there. Also, players will
Farming.
yeah, players will no longer get mimics from a chest after looting the chest 5 times. So you need to go to different places if you want to keep getting them. They're basically trying to discourage farming, which I kind of appreciate personally, because farming like that isn't that much fun. Which is kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So I get that you're trying to optimize it, but go to new places.
I think there was a dev post, something along the lines that the lower level chests were coming in as like bosses or something and
I'm
they
not
were
there
like
yet.
one-shotting. Oh, okay. Is that on there? Nope,
Yeah.
I didn't scroll that far ahead. Sorry.
I think I put it in the bug section instead of here, but yeah.
Well.
On the ransack thing, the mimic spawn per chest ransack works the same way as loot ransack, so it has a decay over time. Although this only runs through October 8th, so it's unlikely that you're going to necessarily run into that problem or that advantage. Also, mimics will not appear for a character if they are 4 levels over the quest level, unless that quest level is above level 20. Also, instant death effects no longer kill mimics. Just sad, but somewhat understandable. Yeah, so you're talking about there was a so the mimic hunt is running through October 8th. There is no mimic hunt madness anymore. So that was basically this thing where as the event was going on, when the server reached a certain number of mimics, the mimic hunt madness happened, and all the chests were mimics. Yeah, they got rid of that. Also, your character has to be level 3 in order for mimics to spawn at all. So they're not there to kill the new players, or at least not the baby new players. You can visit the vendor if you don't want mimics. You can go to the Hall of Heroes, find the vendor, Glenrith, and there's an option to turn mimics off if you don't want to do that. But just so you know, the way that works is if you open the chest, that's what determines if it worked, if you get a mimic or not. So if you have turned them off, or if you're using bait, it has to be you that opens the chest. So if you turn the mimics off and someone else in the party has mimics turned on and opens the chest, then you might get a mimic. Also, what you were referring to earlier, someone chimed in and said there was a bug fixed with mimics. The side effect of that is they are now using boss scaling, which makes them dangerous at low levels since they are scaled like a boss at the end of a dungeon. Although I would say that seems to be affecting them at every level range, because I found them to be somewhat dangerous, more so than I was expecting.
Which I think is fine on the upper levels, but in lower levels, there are people getting one-shotted again. One-shotting, not fun. That's the moral of the story.
No, sure. I think there's room for some middle ground. I think it's more fun. Just here's the thing: do you want it as a challenge or do you want it as a festival? If it's a festival, I should think that the mimics would be not very scary, not very dangerous. Okay, maybe if you're running on a Reaper 7, the mimic should be dangerous. But if it's a festival and it's just supposed to be fun, just spawn a bunch of mimics and make them not too hard to kill, right? I don't feel like it needs to be a challenge thing if it's trying to be a fun festival.
Like fighting for festival coins? Is that going to happen next time?
Yeah, right. You get a festival coin, but only if you can defeat this new Reaper that spawns at each. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of how I think about it. So I just think it's kind of fun to open a chest and it be a mimic. I don't need it to kick my butt right away. That doesn't necessarily make it more fun if the loot is always killing me. So they're discussing if they can patch in adjustments next week. So we might see some there. Cordovan also chimed in and said the mimic tokens will persist after the event ends and will be usable when the event returns. Assuming that probably assumes that no one manages to what did I say before? Exploitively reproduce them?
Yeah, mass reproduce, yeah.
Something like that. So,
which I'm glad to hear that, because that 80 threshold, if I've got 76 of them, I'd be annoyed that I don't have smaller increments to spend them on. With some of the other events, look at the birthday festival. If I didn't have enough to buy my 25 level gear, I could spend a much lesser amount and buy a couple things and not waste all those materials.
Yeah. No, I'd like to see, I like that you can I'd like to see them turn it on more now that we've got it, and just kind of have it on and off a few times throughout the year, so you can just kind of keep working towards it. So, again, I think I'd like it to be more fun than challenge.
That'd be a nice bonus weekend. Turn on the mimics for 3-4 days, and the vendor do that once every 6-8 weeks.
You got to do it for a whole week, but yeah, they've started stacking bonus events sometimes. So I think if I would, if it was me, I'd say let's do 2, at least once a month. You do a weekend where you got 2 bonus things going on, and I think the Mimic Hunt should be a regular rotation. I'd go for that. Other show note or other release notes. Warforged, Bladeforged, and Artificers with Construct Exemplar now properly recover from the incapacitated state. Yay. Actually, I think that used to be intentional, that the Warforged, they would automatically stabilize, but they didn't pick themselves off the floor. I might be wrong on that, but kind of what I vaguely remember. The rate at which quarter staves loses durability has been reduced significantly. We mentioned that before. That's
Yay.
great. Yeah, right. Healing amplification effects on newer items now properly list their bonus type in their description. This is because a few named items with quality healing amplifications appear to change to exceptional, but this is a text changed only. Well, that's good. Same thing with repair amplification. Here's a nice note. I like this note. Sometimes they're just funny, right? The nicked repeating light crossbow now actually fires bolts.
That's funny.
To which I kind of wonder, what did it fire before? Probably nothing, right? Let's see. The optional objectives in the beginning of schemes of the enemy no longer grant XP. The base XP of the quest has been raised accordingly. They've done that a lot. That really just has to do with XP farming. The quests protect Bodger's interest and stop Hasdil shipment can no longer be played on Reaper difficulty. That's because they're stupidly easy on Reaper. I think someone pointed out afterward that protect Bodger's interest, I guess the box doesn't even get destroyed anymore. So, and stop Hasdil shipment is just killing boxes, so extra XP is a little easy. Teleporting the 12 now places you outside the Tower of the 12 rather than in its interior. I like that change. I don't tend to teleport there, but that is nice.
Outside.
Sunburst no longer causes permanent blindness. That's probably good. Let's see. Oh, Death Block now displays on the buff bar. That's when you wear a Death Block item. I thought that was kind of neat, right?
Yeah.
Also, the guild buff duration icon no longer disappears when jump is cast or wearing a jump item. That's helpful.
How does the bug like that happen? You ever wonder how they're connected? What kind of web there is in the background of that code?
I've kind of stopped wondering what some of these bugs are and how they're related because, if some players may not know or remember this, but there was this weird period of time where the walls had no effect other than blocking you from seeing and shooting things. Beholders could shoot you through a wall, which was really awkward. But that's what was going on.
They could sneak that in at Reaper 8, turn that one back on.
Well, I didn't. Yeah, right. It had something to do with they made this change somewhere else, and what that did was it basically made the walls part holy apparently. So yeah. Let's see. Bugs that are going on. The war domain is not granting exotic weapon proficiency. They'll be working to correct that. Probably the same time they correct the mimics, I would imagine. Bonus days for the week. We mentioned the Mimic Hunt. Also, you get 10% VIP XP through October 1st, tomorrow. So if you're a VIP, enjoy that. By the way, the VIP XP boost affects things like the Stone of Change and XP gems from sagas and stuff like that. Normally, the XP boost does not affect those things because it's usually about quest XP or heroic and epic XP and stuff like that. No, this does. So if you've been waiting for that day to use a, say, heroic auto stone, now would be a good time because you get an extra. If you're VIP, you get an extra 10% out of that, which is pretty handy. Let's see. Store news. 35% off of character banks, shared banks, inventory space, and more through October 5th. Hey, the shared banks that I've been saying haven't been on sale yet are on sale, apparently.
Woohoo! Congratulations.
Or at least one. At least there was one that I didn't have that was on sale, which I was pretty stoked about. So I now own
There's
that
a
one.
forum thread about that, I think.
Yeah, there was.
At the kitchen.
That's what kind of tipped me off. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have looked. Also, the weekly coupon, Enchanted Repair All Kit. Mr. Fix It is your coupon code.
Nice code, people.
Yeah, it was nice. It's easy to say, very easy to figure out. Yeah, good code. All right, that'll take us to community news. Let's see, the 252nd Chronicle. Maze Arcana will be hosted on DDO stream. So you can check. This is an Eberron-focused pen and paper live stream every Sunday. That's kind of neat. Live stream on the DDO stream. I think that's pretty slick. Let's see. Bard's Life's moved to Saturday nights. It's now starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. King Kaz is a video chronicling every quest in the game, starting with Korthos through Endgame, also on DDO stream. This week he's tackling Harbor. That's pretty neat. So you can find the archives of It's Good to Be King on YouTube. The guild for the week. A very bad guild on Wayfinder is looking for you. The guild is active on most weekends and welcomes characters of all level. These are the guys. They actually have a video series. In fact, they're also in the fan site news where they did Last Dance. They have a video there. This is out of order, but while I'm in the fan site news section, we got a shout out for our episode looking at level 7 to 9 last week. Next week we'll be looking at levels 10 to 12. That's where it gets a little more fun. A lot more things opening up, and clerics get blade barrier and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. Everybody gets tier 5 enhancements. That's always fun too. DDO Players News has that old school D&D feeling. Bachelor Gore went to Giant Hold and More. Bruce broke into the vampire's coffee table, or broke the vampire's coffee table. Do vampires drink coffee? Ozzy plays Waterworks, and Thosrin runs Permadeath. You can find out all about those in here as well. The comment for the week. A group of geese are called a gaggle. What are a group of mimics called?
Luggage.
That's pretty good. I don't think I can top that.
I liked it.
Luggage is pretty good. I was gonna say a sad adventurer, but it doesn't really work, does it? Yeah, a bad day. That's what I'd call him. The loot is trying to kill me. Let's see. Cordovan also looked at the Mimicon, and they snuck in the logo, which you can actually see on if you're looking at our video here. I actually have it on screen there, and have updated the logo that I use. So they announced the what the expansion is going to be called, which is Mists of Ravenloft, and they have the new DDO logo, which looks pretty spiffy. Actually, I really like it.
Do you know if they got a high-res download for that yet?
I'm not sure if they. Well, I pulled it off of DDO Players News. They had an article about it.
I know with others they've had a high-res download if you want it for backgrounds or whatever.
I would be shocked if you got a hold of Cordovan. I'm almost positive he'll send you or fix you up with it if you want it.
Yeah.
He's usually pretty good about that. There may be a place that they have it open, or you can probably also just go to the website and save the image.
Yeah.
I've done. I think I've actually done that before. But yeah, it looks really slick. I like the font and everything. Also, they announced on the Weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream this week that Azamar and Vistani Night Fighter will be available in Update 36 Patch 3, which is expected to hit Lamania next week. That's pretty cool, which means that it's probably going to come out before Ravenloft. So there you go. DDO Central is saying...
Very interesting.
Yeah. DDO Central is saying that a group of mimics is called a Fraggle. I don't know if that's a reference or what, but okay. No, going back to stuff coming out in Update 36 Patch 3, this I think is kind of going more towards a stance that they seem to have now of, if it's done, why don't we just give it to the players and why make them wait another month? Which I appreciate. So
I can support that, yes.
Yeah, right. See, Mickey's Delirium wrote a blog about silly mimics. Basically, she had a mimic spawn and then like run away and crawl in a hole. There you go. See, DDOCast news. DDO Splat is still going on 5:30 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays. I did a special thing this week. So my guild, the Lava Divers, decided to run Elite Riding the Storm out. So they asked me to Twitch it, so I did. So that's available if you want to see what Elite Riding the Storm out looks like. I'll just let you watch it and figure out what happens. But it's DDO Splat, so spoilers, we die a lot. So there you go. The scavenger hunt. I've done tabulating the numbers. I'll be contacting people this week to get that out, and I should be ready to announce thing. I'll probably announce them next week when I actually have the list in front of me and can do that easier. There you go. So that means we get to go to Lightning Post. So a lot of this was all kind of talking about our episode last week, the levels 7 to 9 range. So again, this is quest levels 7 to 9 for leveling. That's our series that we're doing right now. Fuzzy Duck 81 said that it's his favorite gear for power, or favorite levels for gear power progression. Temple of Elemental Evil weapons at level 7, Slave Lords at level 8 are a huge jump. Yeah. He agrees Temple of Elemental Evil is hard. It's ridiculously difficult on Elite at level due to the combination of mob damage and the sheer number of them. Yeah, there's a ton. There was a brief time where you could aggro one and like the whole dungeon would just come running. That was kind of crazy. You can do that in the Explorer areas too. If you're after the loot, you're best farming it at Elite at a high level character, but the XP from it can add up pretty well due to the kill X number of optionals and the monster manual deeds you can rack up. Slave Lords is one he'll usually run at level since it's set up as a long quest rather than using the Explorer area tech. It's more manageable with some tactical approach, and the loot is far more plentiful. Even one chain completion of Slave Lords on Elite will practically guarantee enough coins to make one crafted item. For both of them, he says it's definitely a little easier to run with Bravery bonus in the future if you have a couple of good domain clerics and that tasty Blade Brayer SLA. Yeah.
That's going to make a lot of things easier.
Right? Are you going to go back to a cleric myth with all the changes to clerics?
Maybe. I don't know. I used to really enjoy playing my clerics, but it seems like anymore people expect clerics to be able to, I don't know, do everything. And I never built my clerics to fight. I just wanted to heal the party.
There you go. I think these days people would be generally appreciative of having a cleric who heals them if they're running Reaper.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So maybe.
See, returning to Fuzzy Duck's email, he says he runs Gwilyn Sand without a rogue all the time. The trick is the minimum level 8 petrifying runestones. Hit the guys before they can hit the boxes to activate them. So there you go. He also always runs the Sentinels chain on Heroic for the Saga. The extra hit of XP, it's really nice for that final push. Also, he likes the Jid Bracers, which are great for a monk to get the extra healing amp. If you're in the right stance, yes. Taming of the Flames, he says, is the quest he really runs ever at level. I don't know that anyone really tends to run it at level. He does give a pro tip, though. You specifically need to run it on hard difficulty on Elite to farm Earth Elemental Soul Gems for the Adamantine Ritual. Yeah, that's a really great way to do it. Ideally, use a Warlock for it as they don't need the special spell component for the spell. Great tip. For the Vaughn series, remember the part leading to Vaughn 3 is its own heroic only very fast quest chain. Yep, we mentioned that. He says Stormcreave and Storval are another pair of always runs for him. Just a lot of fun. He tends to skip.
Stormcleave is classic.
Yeah,
I always look forward to getting that when I'm leveling through.
He tends to skip Threnel, which is a shame because he likes the story and the XP, but escort quests. The worst escort quests in the game, he says. It's true. Also, the flagging to open up south is pretty janky. Yeah, I agree. He tends to run red fens on heroic. It's good for favor, and the recent item updates were really nice. He likes the Mimic Hunt is making a comeback. It's nice to have the event that's just happening, which you don't really have to go out of your way to farm. I agree. So there you go. He predicted that if you bless a chest and it turns out to be a Mimic, it'll become a champion. Which would be pretty funny.
We had a bacon chest today spawn as a Mimic, so I wasn't sure that was happening or not.
A bacon chest?
Or, what do you call it? Champion chest.
Oh, okay. So you did get a Mimic that was a champion.
We had a Mimic that came out of a champion chest.
Oh, out of a champion chest. Yeah. That
Yeah.
I think is supposed to happen. No, I thought you were saying that the Mimic itself was a champion, which I thought
no.
would have been funny. I've been actually waiting for one to spawn a Reaper. But that hasn't happened yet. At least I haven't seen it happen. He says for Explorer areas at heroic levels, he generally does once around the block run to hit up all the points while running a Slayer potion. Then if he's close to the next Slayer number, he'll generally top that up while hunting a couple of the rares he missed the first time. Someone else was asking why we weren't talking about Explorer areas. I did kind of make an intentional choice not to. I get that they can be a viable part of people's leveling plan. I tend not to use them, one. And two, we're really trying to focus on the quests and talking about the quests that are in that level range. So it felt like it was just a little bit too far outside the scope. I'll probably come back and do an episode and we'll just talk about Explorer areas, which ones we like, which ones we don't like, that kind of a thing. Ember Science says, for ghostly skeletons, forget the lame club, go into heroic chronoscope on normal, beat the opening fight, and then you can buy whatever weapon you use in Flame Touch, which adds the good property. Then you bypass the DR and can actually do some damage. That's a great tip. I really wish you would have thought about that. It's one of those things I knew about. Just completely didn't think about it.
Those weapons also are nice crafting blanks as well.
Yes. He says red fens deserve another look now the loot has been updated. The Reaper damage reduction means that stacking damage up is far more important than a bunch of separate +1 or D4 or D6 damage rolls. Yes. Two of the set items there give a very nice +3 artifact damage. The Mimic Festival, he remembers people on the forums crying about getting wiped by the end chest during the first run of this awesome event. He says combine it with Reaper and he expects the tears to flow freely. There you go. And Tandy also said a cleric with an artificer with a cleric hireling can do all of the tiers in Tier of Decon. Yeah, because the artificer is probably going to have intelligence. The cleric would have the wisdom, and your dog will probably have the strength for the lever. Great tip. All right, survey question for the week. I expect good answers from here. This is the fun one. Biku on Sarlona says, what happens to the slaves, etc., that you don't bother to rescue?
Isn't that our entire Reaper system? All the people we ignored and left behind for the last 11 years are now coming back to haunt us?
That was a surprisingly good answer. I was not prepared for such a good answer. Even though I asked for it.
Yeah, that's pretty perfect.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Man, I don't know. It would actually be really funny if they did a quest that had people in it, like the boss at the end, or maybe even a quest chain, that the people at the end that were like pulling all the strings were people that the players had left behind or didn't save.
Like the James Bond half of their plots. I mean, you look how the Loth claimed our world, all the shards we've been collecting for years powered that whole event.
Yeah. There's been some in the comic. I don't pay attention to the comics well enough, but there's definitely been Age of Ultron, right, had a character who his whole motivation was you didn't save or you caused the death of my family in the city. So it's definitely been something that's been touched on in that media.
I mean, it's part of the plot for Wrath of Khan. Never went back and checked, and his wife died, and he's all upset.
Yeah, maybe. It's been I have seen Wrath of Khan, but I haven't seen it very much, and it's been a long time since I've actually seen it. But yeah, there could be the this is actually something that I like to bring into my pen and paper campaigns is the players become powerful and do these things that really impact the world, and having that actually be a part of their campaign is, oh snap, we broke the world. Oops. So
When I DM'd, I would have we call it the next generation. When you'd start over, the old crew would be the NPCs, and you'd have to fix some of the things they broke. So similar idea.
I did as a DM when I transitioned into being the DM for the group. I did actually have the party run into my PC's dead corpse. I think that was because I didn't like that character. So I was going to reroll a new character when I went back to. But then I actually had, when I went back again, my character ended up being a boss. They were trying, or they captured someone, or were trying to interrogate someone, and my old PC character was trying to kill him. So it kind of pitted them against him as kind of a boss fight, which was kind of fun. So, in any case, let's close out the show. Myth, would you like to plug the damsels?
Oh, if I must. Excuse me. Well, we're on a little break right now. Leslie's super busy with her schoolwork, and so we're just taking a little time off. But we'll be back, and we're around every other Friday night, Saturday mornings, beginning again on October 14th for our Twitch sessions, and then the following day, October 15th, which is Saturday night, Sunday morning for our podcast, and then every other week after that.
And you can find archives of the shows on YouTube as well, right?
Yes, and on our website, DDO.com.
If you're not listening to the damsels, stop listening to me. Go listen to them. They're funnier. They have a very good dynamic, so it's always fun to listen to them. Let's see. Propane, anything you want to plug before we close out the show?
So it's saying our guild, Brotherhood of Redemption's on Serlona. If you're new or coming back to the game or doing a server transfer, look us up. We'll love to help you get back into the game.
Yeah. So thanks for Propane and Mythery for joining me today. It was a really tough show to actually put together just because of my own personal schedule, so it was really helpful to have these guys be available at a time that was a very narrow window for me to get a show in. And thanks to all the other contributors for DDOCast, and also to Standing Stone Games and Wizards of the Coast for making DDO happen, and thanks to Starbeers for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOCast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. You can also hit us up at DDOCast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, swag, and other fun stuff. If you'd like to be part of the show, or have a comment on this episode, or you just want to say hi, or something you'd like to hear us kind of talk about more in depth like we did with our debate show today, send me an email, ddocast@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment as well. You can also find us on social media. You can follow me at DDOCast for the latest cast updates. If you would like to follow Mythery, is it at Mythery 2014? Is that right?
At Mythery1.
At Mythery1 for Twitter.
My email's at Mythery2014.
That's what it was.
Gmail.
And at Saba Jade and at Lessa as well are the damsels, so you can find out when their shows are. Usually, if I'm getting the divvying of tasks right, Saba usually sends out the pre-email, and Mythery sends out the pre-tweet, and Mythery sends out the tweet, "We're starting."
Yes.
Nice coordination.
I send out get your butt in there right now. Quick.
Our closing tip for the week comes from Art on Kyber. It says, "Jump is the single simplest buff you'll realize you need all the time." I agree. Being able to
They're pots in the harbor. They're cheap. Go get them.
Yep. So until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.
Close 'cause